All right, welcome back, folks. This is Chef Pep here to do a little commentary on a fish that's can be caught in Florida or New York, Sheepshead Bay. It's called a sheepshead. And one of the unique things about a sheepshead is it eats all crustaceans, barnacles, crustaceans, and mollusks that are close to barnacles. So it has a mouthful of teeth. All of the tongue area and the teeth are for taking barnacles and little crustaceans that live on the barnacles and mollusks and kind of scraping them off the coral and chewing them up. And it smells like a scallop from the outside, and it has very human-like looking teeth. I'll see if I can get in here and show you guys what its teeth look like. But I don't know if you guys can see that, but that is the mouth of a sheep's head, and it looks very much like a set of human teeth. And further in the mouth, it has like crushing elements on its tongue, so it's designed to crush up shells. And the meat is very delicious. It's very sweet because it has a diet mainly of just crustaceans and mollusks, shrimp, baby lobsters, oysters, clams, and so the meat's really good. Now, a lot of people have a lot of trouble filleting this fish, but I'm going to show you, just like any other fish, it's pretty easy to fillet once you follow the basic methods and techniques of filleting just any other whole fish. So a lot of people, they when they fillet it, they cut right through the belly area and discard this belly meat. But this belly meat's very sweet, and there's no need to just cut over it and only have that dorsal loin. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna show you guys how to fillet, and then I'm gonna cook something. I'm gonna cook something called fish picada, my version, which has you can look in the background and see my mise en place. I have fresh basil, oyster mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms, fresh scallion, capers, lime, and I have salt and pepper that I milled from the Himalayan pink salt and rainbow peppercorns. And that's what we're going to use to make our picada, and garlic. So we're going to go ahead and fillet this fish, and we'll see just if we can fillet it without missing all this belly meat and actually getting up underneath the rib bones. Now, my fillet knife, it's not real flexible, but when you fillet fish like this, it's important to use the different parts of your knife. So I'm gonna go ahead and start filleting it. I'm gonna cut into it like I did the cali. Same thing. Now, these have pretty thick scales, but what you do is you turn the blade the other way and you make an insert. Now, just smelling this fish, it smells delicious. It's got like a scallopy sweet smell, and that's how you know that it's fresh. Now, you just slide your knife right down the side like how we do all of our other fish, and you see that first cut that I made? You're already almost down in the middle of the fish, and then the belly pin bones is what you have to break through, and you just take your knife and you run it right over that belly. So you're leaving, this fish wasn't gutted either, you're leaving that belly intact, excuse me, and you have a fillet right there. See, that's what I was talking about, the belly. It's really thin up by the rib bones, and it looks like the fish was speared. We don't have these in Maine, so I don't really know how they caught them, but I know that they don't come from Maine, and they come from Florida and different parts of New York, New Jersey. Sheepshead Bay is famous for their sheep's head. So same thing I did with the cali and the other fish. You make that little insert, and then you run your knife at an angle. You want to angle your knife that way so you're feeling that bone, that rib bone. And there you go. You do the same thing but reversed. And now we're going to use the tip of the knife to crack those belly bones. Once you crack the belly bones, and you make sure you've got that good cut, you can run your knife right down the fish, and it will take the fillet right off the fish, leaving the fish still intact. The guts are still on the fish, and you can take the head and the frame and you can boil it and make a stock to make any kind of soups or sauces that you want to make with fish, using fish. So it's always good, instead of using chicken broth when you're doing a fish dish, to use fish stock or fish broth, because it really makes the flavor of whatever you're doing better. All right, so we trim up the belly. And like I told you guys, there's always pin bones down all of these fish. So it's really important to get those bones out so you're not fighting bones when you're eating your fish. You just run it right down the middle. Sheep's head's a little different. Like I said, the meat's it's not a very fat fish. It's a flatter fish. So it might take you a little longer to do it, but if you use the same method and technique, and we're gonna skin it same way we do any other fish, knife at a 45-degree angle, and then we pull it off. See, the skin's still intact, and that fillet looks really good. That fillet looks really nice. Clean it up a little bit. Try to always keep your cutting surface area free of scales and whatever might come out or in the fish. And then this one right here, we're gonna take the pin bones out. We can see that it was probably speared because it's got little blood spots up here. So we just want to cut those pin bones out and do the same thing. We want to skin the fish, and then we can clean it up right after. See, there's your skin, there's the pin bones that just came out. So we just trim it right up. We've got that piece right there. We have this piece right here. And so even though the fish smells really good and really fresh, I'm gonna go ahead and rinse it off just for a second, just to try to get any of the scales that might have come on the fish from the cutting surface. Make sure your water is really nice and cold. We don't have to put this in salt to wash it because we're not eating it raw. And there you have it, folks. You have your beautiful sheep's head fillet. So what I'm gonna do now is all I'm gonna do, because we're making a piccata, I'm gonna trim up all the really thin pieces. We'll cut that into two. The tail part, the dorsal loin. Cut that, the tail part, the dorsal loin. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and season this fish with salt and pepper. Salt and black pepper, that's all you need, because like I usually say in my videos, you don't want to mask the actual flavor of the fish. And sheepshead is a fish that has a lot of flavor. So we're gonna go ahead and salt and pepper both sides. And then we're gonna turn on our pan to get our pan good and hot so that we can dredge this in a little flour that we're gonna season with salt and pepper, and then we can get started. So I'm gonna turn my pan on, turn it on about medium high, that'll be fine. And now we're gonna get some of our ingredients ready. Now what we're gonna use to actually saute and get some color on the fish, we're gonna use olive oil and butter again, and then we're gonna finish it off with butter and fresh capers. So we're gonna go ahead and get the rest of our mise en place, whatever we didn't prepare right now, ready, and wait till the pan gets nice and hot before we put any olive oil and butter in there. And then capers. Capers are usually really salty. They're in a salt brine. So what I like to do is I like to rinse my capers off so that it takes some of the salt out of the capers. So we're gonna go ahead and get our garlic ready, which is just simple. We're just gonna break the garlic, peel it, and cut it up. So it's pretty simple, taking the skin off. You just kind of crush it, and then the skin comes off really easy. And then I usually cut the bases off the garlic so that it doesn't leave anything bitter in the actual sauce. And then our scallions, what we're gonna do is we're gonna chop them too. So what we can do, it's always good to have a nice sharp knife when you're doing this, and be very careful when you're cutting small things up with a sharp knife. You want to make sure that your fingers are bent over so you don't cut yourself. And that's what you do. You just kind of chop it up. And these knives are really good and easy to work, because when you have a big knife like this, once you get it relatively small, you can kind of ride your hand on the top of the knife and do all of your cutting. You know, once it's already going, you can either use that hand if it's easier for you to lay it on the knife, or just, you know, we don't want the garlic too small. We just want to get the garlic nice and small enough so where it's gonna really give off a nice flavor and flavor your sauce well. Same thing with the scallions. We're gonna dice up the scallions really small, slice and dice, you know, and you always have your knuckles bent so that they're on the flat surface of the knife, but don't raise a knife up high enough so that you really cut yourself, because it's no fun cutting yourself while you're cooking. All right, so we got our scallions cut up. We also have some fresh basil. You don't have to cut that up too small at all. That basil has got a really nice flavor. You just want that to complement that sauce while we get the sauce going. And then you can leave a few pieces of garlic reserved. Now, a lot of people in their piccata, they've used lemon. I like to use lime, because lime has a really nice flavor. And then for a garnish, we can cut a couple pieces of lime, slices in halves. All right, so we got that pot warming up really nice. We're going to go ahead and put about a tablespoon and a half full of olive oil, and then we're going to cut about a tablespoon off of our salted butter. We cut a nice chunk off. It's about a tablespoon and a half. Put that in the olive oil, and we let that heat up. All right, so then we have our dish for our lime juice. So it's always good to kind of get all of this together beforehand, because it could be the difference between your fish burning when you're trying to prepare this or not. So we always like to kind of get this lime together, all the different things that we have to squeeze and cut. Make sure that we're going to be using a little bit of Pinot Grigio wine also to flavor the piccata, so make sure that that's already uncorked. And so on the franchise, we noticed that we seasoned our flour a little bit, so we're going to do the same, but there was a different component. There were egg. We beat a couple of eggs to go in to make the piccata. To make the franchise, but we're not going to need eggs because it's a piccata. So we take our fish and we bread it, or not bread it, excuse me. This is called dredging. When you want to lightly coat it, it's called dredging. So we're going to tune back in part 2 and show you how we prepare the piccata for the sauce after we saute it. Bye for now, guys.